Right now, somewhere, someone is staring at their phone waiting for a text back. Their stomach is in knots. They've reread the last message 4 times. They feel like they might actually die if this person doesn't like them back. This feeling, the obsession, the butterflies, the inability to think about anything else feels like the most human thing in the world, like something only we could possibly experience. But here's the question almost nobody asks. When did this start? Did a caveman ever feel this way? Did an early human ever lie awake at night thinking about one specific person and nobody else? The answer is stranger than you'd expect, and it starts not with humans at all, but with a chemical that's far older than we are. Let's start with what romantic love actually is, biologically speaking. In the 1990s, anthropologist Helen Fisher began scanning the brains of people who described themselves as madly in love. What she found was specific. A region of the brain called the ventral tegmental area lit up, the same region associated with addiction. Romantic love wasn't activating the same parts of the brain as warm affection or friendship. It was activating the same circuitry as cocaine, dopamine, norepinephrine, lowered serotonin, the same chemical signature you'd see in someone early in a drug dependency, obsessive thinking, craving, withdrawal when the person is away. This is the part that surprises people. Romantic love isn't a feeling humans invented. It's a neurochemical system. And neurochemical systems don't appear overnight. They evolve, slowly, over millions of years, usually because they solve a problem. So what problem was romantic love solving? To answer that, we have to go back further than humans, further than primates even. Fisher's research suggests that the brain circuitry for romantic attraction may be present in some form across many mammals, and possibly further back than that. Pair bonding behaviors, the drive to focus intensely on one mate, show up in birds, in voles, in primates. The mechanism is ancient. What's different is what humans did with it. Around 4 million years ago, something happened to our ancestors that changed everything. They started walking upright. This sounds unrelated to love. It is not. Walking on 2 legs freed up the hands. Freed up hands meant tool use, food carrying, and, critically, it changed how infants had to be raised. A bipedal pelvis is narrower. A narrower pelvis means babies are born less developed than other primates, requiring far more care for far longer. Suddenly, raising offspring wasn't something one parent could easily do alone. The math changed. A mother caring for a helpless infant needed support, food, protection, time. And the partner who provided that support consistently, who stuck around, who focused his attention on her and her offspring specifically rather than spreading himself thin, that partner's offspring were more likely to survive. This is the theory many anthropologists point to. Pair bonding, the drive to attach intensely to one specific partner, may have been selected for because it solved a childcare problem. The in-love feeling, obsessive focus on one individual, wasn't there to make us happy. It was there to keep 2 parents glued together long enough to get a vulnerable infant through its most fragile years. Romantic love, in this view, isn't separate from survival. It is survival. But here's where it gets more interesting. Because pair bonding and romantic love aren't quite the same thing, and the distinction matters. Anthropologists generally describe 3 separate systems that overlap in modern human relationships. Lust, the drive for sex, largely testosterone and estrogen. Attraction, the intense, obsessive, in-love feeling, the dopamine system Fisher studied. And attachment, the long-term bond, driven largely by oxytocin and vasopressin, the same hormones involved in parent-infant bonding. These 3 systems likely evolved at different times for different reasons and then layered on top of each other in humans. Lust is ancient, shared with almost all sexual species. Attachment is also old. The same bonding chemistry that makes a mother feel connected to her newborn appears to have been repurposed for adult pair bonds. But attraction, that specific, dopamine-driven obsession with one individual, appears to be a more targeted adaptation, possibly unique in its intensity to a small number of species, humans very much included. So, when did early humans start experiencing something we'd recognize as falling in love? The honest answer is, we can't put a date on a feeling. There's no fossil of an emotion. But we can look at what falling in love requires and trace when those requirements existed. It requires individual recognition, the ability to distinguish one specific person from everyone else, and care about that distinction. Many primates have this. Chimpanzees form preferential bonds. Bonobos do too. So this capacity likely predates humans by millions of years. It requires the neurochemical reward system Fisher identified, and that system appears to be deeply conserved across mammals, meaning it's old. Very old. What's different for humans is what got layered on top once those systems were already in place. The third thing required for falling in love as we experience it. Storytelling. This is the part almost nobody talks about. Once humans developed language complex enough to discuss internal states, not just "I want food," but "I think about you when you're not here," romantic love stopped being just a private neurochemical event. It became something that could be communicated, compared, expected, and culturally shaped. Once you can tell someone, "I love you," love becomes something with a name. Something other people can recognize in you. Something you can recognize in yourself because you have words for it. Archaeological and genetic evidence suggests complex language, capable of this kind of abstract emotional communication, likely emerged sometime in the last 100,000 to 200,000 years, though the exact timeline remains debated among linguists and archaeologists. So here's a rough picture. The chemical machinery for romantic attraction is millions of years old, shared across many species. The drive toward pair bonding likely intensified in human ancestors around the time bipedalism reshaped childbirth and childcare several million years ago. But the experience of falling in love, as a recognized, nameable, communicable thing, something you could tell a friend about, something a society could have opinions about, that's much newer. Tens of thousands of years, not millions. Which means, for most of the time the chemistry existed, nobody had a word for what was happening to them. An early hominin might have felt the obsessive pull toward one specific individual. The same dopamine surge, the same inability to stop thinking about them, without any framework to understand it as anything other than just a feeling. Something happening to them, not something they were experiencing as love. And here's the part that should change how you think about that person you can't stop texting. The feeling itself, the chemical storm, the obsession, the craving, is something your ancestors felt going back further than language, further than fire, further than tools. It is older than almost everything that makes us recognizably human. What's new is the part where you know what to call it. For millions of years, that feeling existed in silence. No word for it, no song about it, no friend to tell. Just the chemistry, doing its ancient job, quietly keeping two people close enough, long enough, for something fragile to survive. You're not experiencing something modern. You're experiencing something prehistoric, wearing modern clothes.